internet! It is weird to hear this with only one headphone. That was really funny because I was like waiting for my cue, but it must be in the other ear. Hello and welcome to Koicast.
That part is not in stereo. That's the last part's probably in the both.
I think I was waiting for the big and it was small because it was only one ear.
He still has broken headphones is what we're trying to say.
What we're trying to say is I was a little distracted.
If you listen to last week's episode, we're dealing with broken materials.
And I got one ear and it was funny that it sounded different because it is different because it's a stereo versus mono situation. Hello and welcome to Koicast. I am Coy Jandro, a Bostonian who loves pop culture, comic books, and people. Hope you're doing very, very well. I am joined, as ever, by the great Jake Lloyd Bacon. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. It's my favorite month of the year.
November?
Yeah.
Because of Thanksgiving? Or
yeah, because of Thanksgiving and because of the weather and because of the fall. I mean, it's not the same in LA.
No, it's fall in quotes.
But it's my favorite time of the year in places that I am not.
I drove to Topanga Canyon to see some leaves, and there was only a few, but it was nice. I miss leaves.
Yeah, I don't know how we're going to make it work with Alexandra's nightmarish work schedule, but we really want to go up to Solvang.
Oh, yeah.
Because we've been there a few times. We really like it there, and we've never gotten to go up during this season. And their whole thing in Solvang is they have like the apple festival.
Yeah.
Like it's the whole orchard. I never know how you pronounce that.
Orchard?
Orchard.
Yeah, orchard.
Orchard.
Both hard
Yet the flower is not orchid.
An orchid.
See the problem that I have here?
Well, it's the English language. Also,
it is the English language.
In Boston, it's an orchard.
Orchard.
And the R in the beginning is there.
Orchard. No. It's AW. Yeah, everybody knows. Yeah.
But then the
orchard.
AHD is very confusing.
Yep.
So yeah, it depends where you're from.
Anyways, yeah.
Go to the fucking orchard, kid.
I love the weather at minimum in some places.
It's been nice to wear like layers. I've enjoyed that, even though it gets to be 70 during the day because LA is hot. But it's interesting. It does not feel have not felt this season. I haven't felt like my birthday was my birthday. Like I felt my actual like the celebratory nature, but like the time of the year. Like my birthday was like, oh, it's suddenly here. And like Halloween.
Then it's over.
Yeah. And like Halloween hasn't felt like a season, it's felt like a day. Like so that's what I mean by like the time has felt incorrect for the holiday. Which is odd.
I can understand that a little bit.
Post-pandemic's just very alarming. I mean, we're still in a pandemic. Post-lockdown. It's very confusing. Time's a lot. It is the hotline week this week where you lovelies are my co-host. Before we get to those, want to talk about something we teased last week.
Yeah.
Where we are giant letterboxters. So much so that letterboxing became what the Patron Pod is now. And twice a year we dive into our stats. I log TV shows in Letterboxd. Jake hates that.
Well, it's not for that. And also it makes your stats completely and totally bullshit. Your stats are they're meaningless.
They're not meaningless.
If
got a little flavor on it.
If a director or an actor is in a television show and you have them logged and it says, "Oh, this is my most watched actor in movies," it's not. There's every one of your stats.
Crossover in my stats.
Every one of your stats has an asterisk.
Not a lot of TV show actors.
But what I'm saying is that it's not like, I don't just mean like your top 10 or whatever, but just stats in general. When you go, oh, how many Tom Hiddleston movies have I seen? Guess what? You have one more there than you've actually seen because Loki's not a movie.
But I'm a completionist when I make a list, and if I want to make a list, it involves the MCU. Those shows are part of my list.
You can do that in different places. You could do that on
one snapshot.
Do it on IMDb.
You can't make a list with
yes, you can.
With the grid?
Yes, you can on IMDb.
You can make a grid?
Yeah, sure.
Because I want the grid. My main thing's the grid.
Sure, it's possible.
Oh, you say it with such conviction, and now you're like, maybe it's true.
It's probably.
So what's your app?
So wait, I want to give a shout out here. I had to pull it up because we talked about this exact thing months ago. And when I say months ago, I mean like 4 episodes, a month ago maybe.
Okay.
And this person I want to give a shout out to on the Discord, Joe Banyard88 on the Discord. Make sure you're on the Discord. It's completely free. Go to koicast.com, click the Discord link. They wrote, "Hey, Jake Bacon and Coy Jandro, I made a video explaining what I use to track TV shows. I had to compress it for Discord. It's totally unwatchable. If it's totally unwatchable, let me know and I'll upload it to YouTube or something. It's not unwatchable. It's great. So it's sort of a silly workaround. And there were follow-ups to this, but there's a website called Tract, Trakt. Tract is kind of like Letterboxd and IMDb put together. It's movies, it's TV, it's literally like all media.
Oh.
But the Tract app is fucking atrocious. It's so confusing. It's so convoluted. It is a terrible interface that's not user-friendly.
Okay.
But luckily, the way that Joe has figured this out, and I'm sure other people have, in fact, it's the whole point of it, is you just go to tracked.com, you just make an account. That's all you have to do is just make an account. Don't use it.
Okay.
Simply make an account, because what you want access to is you want access to their library of the listing of all of the different shows, the episodes of those shows, all the listings of that stuff. And then you can go to the iOS App Store or the Google Play Store, wherever it is, and then you want to download something that's just called Tracked or TV. What is this called? Hang on. There's an alliteration for it. It's called TVST TV Show Tracker.
Okay.
That's what's called. TVST, TV Show Tracker. That's the actual app you use.
Okay.
When you open that app, you just log in using the newly created Tracked login.
Okay.
And then this is the interface. And I want to show it to you because it's fucking outstanding. And I want you to show me what you're using.
Okay.
So literally, you just can search any movie, any TV show, but I'm sticking to just TV shows on this app, which is great because you can isolate just TV shows, right? You can click on it. You can just go to episodes, and literally there's just a little bubble for episodes that you've seen. You just check the little bubbles, and then it organizes on your main page to 4 major categories, and I absolutely love it. The 4 categories that are on your page are shows with unseen episodes. So those are shows that you have started watching that have episodes you have not marked as watched. Then 95 shows to start watching. Those are all the shows I just put in my to watch list. Those means I have not seen a single episode of those shows.
And then you made that name.
No. They organize I just picked the number by just picking however many there are.
So it's your watch list.
It's shows with unseen episodes.
Yep.
Shows to start watching.
Yep.
And then current shows, all episodes watched.
So your completed shows.
No. Your completed shows that are current.
So shows that are airing.
Yep. And then ended shows finished watching.
Nice.
Those are the 4 categories.
Genius.
So it's great because if it's like, hey, let's just double check to see what I'm in the middle of.
Yeah.
I can scroll through and see that there are, 10 episodes I haven't seen of Disenchantment, that there's 6 episodes of Flaked I haven't seen.
And it's updated daily or weekly or?
It's updated daily.
That's awesome.
As the shows. In fact, I think it's a little bit ahead of daily because, like, for example, I can see when I click on, like, Bob's Burgers or something that's currently on air, I can see the episodes that are coming soon. It says coming soon, right? What's great about this is that if I want to just pick stuff that I've actually watched, like I've never started, I just go to that section, and then you can still sort within that section.
This is TV Tracker.
TV Show Tracker, TVST.
TVST.
Yes, it's a generic little like green logo that's like a hexagon with an eye in it.
Very generic.
And it will say, when you look it up in the App Store, it'll say Tracked Client. Tracked is the name of that website that I was telling you.
Yeah.
So it is a little weird. It's not super complicated. It sounds more complicated than it is. Again, kudos to Joe Banyard on Discord. Really, all you gotta do is just go to track.com on the website. Don't download anything. Just go to the website, create a free account, and then go to TV Show Tracker on your App Store, and it'll say in there Tracked Client.
So serialized is pretty much just like Letterboxd.
So then I want to give a shout out to current Unpunchable Gift Horse of the Month, Gilbert Short.
Yes.
Who then posted serialized.
Right.
And I said to Gilbert, thank you very much, but you are too late. At that point, it had only been maybe 6 hours after.
But you'd already committed.
I had already, and I posted a photo of it in the Discord. I had already
so deeply invested.
What I got into. There was already like 140 things. Like 140 things that I had already entered. I went through the watch list.
See, serialized to me is a little bit more aesthetically pleasing.
It's
got a little bit more flourish. You got genres on the main page, and then you've got trending shows, a lot like Letterboxd.
Yeah.
You've got popular shows, which is different than that.
I don't want that.
And then on my home, I've got diary, reviews, lists, recommended to you, currently watching, watched, watch list, dropped, which is fun.
Right. So the dropped is definitely fun because that's one thing that this is missing. But this was made to be a Letterboxd lookalike.
Yes.
I figured it out. I looked it up.
You looked into it, yeah.
The guy who created this
definitely
wanted Letterboxd for TV shows.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I won't make the jump or I won't give it a shot, but
Okay.
I will say, as of right now, this app, TVST, is fantastic.
This is powered by TMDB,
which is the same exact thing that Letterboxd is powered by.
Yes.
It's the movie database.
okay. So this is literally Letterboxd TV.
It is literally, yes, it's Letterboxd for television. And
I think that's why I feel so comfy.
But I haven't explored the intricacies of that UI.
Yeah, and I haven't looked at yours.
It looks more visually as pleasing, like you said.
Yeah.
But this is so simple.
It is.
in the fact that it's literally just 4 little drop down tabs,
But
and then each of the shows just has little check boxes.
But I'm a Mac guy. I know I pay for aesthetic. I know who I am.
Oh,
I know who I am. I'm part of the cult. I need to be pretty.
I will say, if you go to Discover, they do have like the recommended for you, the pop. So this does have a little bit of that, as you can see.
Yeah.
I'm trying to show you here. You're not looking. It has similar.
Okay, and the posters and
where
whatnot.
it's just like shows released in October. It shows you new stuff that's coming out.
Ooh.
Shows released in November. Most popular shows by genre. So it has a little bit of the same thing.
Yeah.
But what I like about this one so far is that
I like those 4 menus.
I have to go navigate to it.
Yeah.
It's not the first thing I see. The first thing I see,
Is that clean?
welcome, Jake. And it's my
That
4
looks like an
categories.
old like message board. That like the aesthetic.
green. It's
Yeah,
the-
the green
it's the
and
black and green,
It's
yeah.
the matrix of it all.
But it does make the show stand out a little bit nicer, and
That's
it makes
true.
it easier. But one of the things I love about this is that it's shown me shit that I didn't even like. There's 6 episodes of Greg the Bunny that I never knew of,
That's cool.
because I went and I went, oh yeah, well I remember the Fox show that I really liked with
Yeah.
Eugene Levy and Seth Green, and then they call season 2 all of the IFC movie parodies, which I have the DVDs of. I love those. And then it says, boom, 2006 season 3, 6 episodes, and I went, well, I don't know what any of this shit is.
That's awesome.
So that's my favorite thing about it so far.
Yeah.
Is
And I
seeing-
haven't logged anything individually in this yet,
Got it.
so I don't know if there's episodes. I don't know if it
Right.
does that.
And what is fun about this too, for example, if I go to the show that I absolutely love, I talk about all the time, Taskmaster, which is like my favorite unscripted show. If you're not
Yeah.
watching Taskmaster, what is great about it is that not only it has all the seasons, but if you go down the bottom, it has specials. So look at all the specials they've had. So there are things that aren't within a season,
Yeah.
but it's a one-off episode or a 2-episode mini season where it's the Champion of Champions.
So this has the eyeball thing too. So I think I can do all the same stuff you're describing. Like
Nice.
I have watched. And then it also has a little bit more of that flavor. So I think they both will. Like if we do a stats off.
This is not a one versus the other.
No,
This
no,
is
I just think if we do a stats off, they'll be comparable is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I think if
maybe.
we look at because I love that on my page, it says how many days and hours I've watched.
it does that too.
Yeah, and I think that'll be fun at the
The
end.
only thing is that this says like, the other thing that's nice about this also has calendar. So it says like when stuff is dropping.
Ooh, that's nice.
So it'll say like, oh, today these 3 things are airing on Fox, or these shows that you're
I
doing
don't think this
dropping
has
to
that.
Apple TV. This is, on all the different, because you also enter in all the services you use, just like with Letterboxd.
Oh, that's cool.
So I also entered in all the services that I have, so it'll tell me what those are. But
the list addiction's real.
list addiction is so fun. But it's not about, it's just about organizing your fun.
It's just efficiency.
It's like it's organizing the stuff and making it, especially because we don't channel surf anymore.
Right.
I
It's
almost
good
said crowd surf.
I still crowd surf.
But we don't channel surf anymore. So this is the equivalent of my channel surfing, is sort of looking at
What's
all the different
available.
shows.
Saves you a lot of time.
It does save a lot of time.
Letterboxd and going to streaming platforms only in my watch list is one of the
Right.
bigger time savings of my entire adult life.
So yeah,
Because
so
I can just click on the app.
when you go to history, it'll show you all the things you watched and the days you watched them, and it'll give you the hours.
I
in
might
total.
do yours because of the
But-
convenience of the day dropping thing. That's cool. I don't see that on here.
And yours, I wish it had the abandoned shows,
Yeah,
because there are definitely some shows in this
you don't
that
want
what I would just do in this instance is I would just mark them as
abandoned.
just mark all the ones that are currently in there as unwatched, and then
Right.
remove it from my list.
Right. It's like you've never
Because
seen
you can ultimately exactly, that would be, I guess, the equivalent of undropping a show
Right.
in this,
But it wouldn't
which
have the
isn't that
hours
different.
logged. Sure.
Yeah, but I don't care personally. I don't care about the hours logged watching the stuff, because it's not like with the movies where I'm doing most of these. I'm not doing right now.
Right.
Like
We're
I'm,
also not going to, at the end of the year stats.
this
and
is
stuff.
I'm not doing TV the way I'm doing movies, where like it's a diary where I click it when I watch it
Right.
and I know what day I watch it. I don't care as much about that with TV. It's fun with movies to
Yeah.
be like, oh, I went to the theater on this day, or
and the
Alexander and I-
completionist aspect of like the top 100 movies is different
Right.
than like,
Yeah, TV shows.
I'm never
are-
going to go through a top shows thing. I just don't have
Yeah,
that life.
it's a little bit excessive.
But when I look at the top 100 the highest grossing movies, that is a fun
Right.
challenge.
Yeah, it's enjoyable. So kudos to Joe and Gil for your recommendations in the Letterboxd. I mean, in the Discord rather. And that's my new obsession. Very fun with it.
Yeah.
In fact, it's one of the reasons why I haven't watched a lot of movies in the past 2 weeks. Because I've been like, oh, look at all these TV shows I haven't.
Oh, that's great.
I watched a bunch of TV series and miniseries and little things that I forgot about.
Yeah.
Because
Patron Pod. It is a light one for us.
That's the other thing that's great about both of these apps is all your different services, TV shows are in one spot.
Right.
So instead of going to Netflix and looking through what shows I haven't seen and then jumping over to Apple Plus and then jumping over to Paramount
It's just
Plus.
Letterboxd where I have that button to go.
Yeah. I can just look at all of the ones that are in my queue at once, and then just figure out where that is and go see
I'm
it.
halfway through Rings of Power, then I'm starting Andor, but I try to keep it to like 3 or 4 shows at once, that maximum. It's just so much.
It's a lot.
A lot of TV, folks. A lot of great TV.
Before we move on to our hotline calls, there's another thing I need to talk about or give a shout out to, because I meant to do it last week. Another thing that I posted in Discord, people like, make sure you say this on the show, is I want to instill like a new segment on the program.
Oh.
If you hear about whether it be on Twitter, as long as that's still going to be a thing, or on social media, or it's just your local town, I want to shout out comic book stores, not just like local store that you like, which by the way, every caller should be telling us what their local store is and giving them a shout out. But also comic book stores in need. There is a small, have you ever been to 4-Color Fantasies?
I've not.
All right. It's a little bit east here in Southern California, inland. I've been there a handful of times because it used to be by a studio that I was shooting at.
Cool.
So when I was on my way home from the studio, I'd swing by 4-Color Fantasies. Really, really, really nice guys. It's a great store. Their whole like mission statement as a comic book shop is inclusiveness. They are trying to fight
that barrier,
arm's length gatekeeping that happens in comics.
Fuck yeah.
And so their whole thing is like customer service, is trying to get new people through the door and get people excited about comics regardless of who they are.
Love them all.
Of where they come from. That's their whole mission. They're awesome. Within 2 weeks, we're broken into twice.
What the fuck?
They posted this, I want to say maybe now almost 2 weeks ago. Another week, another break-in. This time the estimates are in at $10,000 plus range.
Jesus.
They say like, they really don't ask for handouts, but if you have books in your sub or you've been thinking about coming by, maybe making a purchase, really use your help. There, if you find them on Twitter at the number 4, not spelled out, just the number 4 color fantasies, and fantasies all spelled out, at 4-Color Fantasies. They have an online shop. By the way, you could also just find this in the Discord. You might have to scroll back to October 23rd was the day that I posted it in the Discord. If you're just like, if there's 1 or 2 books that you want, you're always going to go back to your own local shop. Maybe consider jumping online and seeing if 4-Color Fantasies has it in stock.
Yeah. And
buy it from them and spend $25 to there or whatever. They're a really nice store. And in the matter of 2 weeks, they were broken into twice. The photo that they posted on the Twitter is just the front door just smashed in overnight.
Heartbreaking.
It was a smash and grab. Over $10,000 worth of stuff. So yeah, I just want to give a shout out to 4-Color Fantasies. And I want to say, moving forward, if you ever hear about this stuff and you're a listener to the show, if you ever hear about a comic book shop in need or comic book shop that gets broken into or vandalized or just a new one that's opening up that has an interesting message or an interesting twist or a hook, preferably we'd love to shout out shops owned by people of color and women, because it's such a small facet of the community. I feel like most comic book shops are owned by white dudes, and 4-Color Fantasies, more power to them. I want them to do well.
I think there's one in Burbank called Coffee and Comics owned by a woman.
That you're thinking of the Perky Nerd.
The Perky Nerd.
Yes. I worked with them a few times when I was working with my gaming company.
Oh, fantastic.
Because they also have like a little mini gaming space in the back.
It's a really cute space.
Perky Nerd's a really cute space. They don't have a lot of single issues. They actually lean more towards trades and toys and fashion and collectibles.
But if that's your cup of tea, female owned, which is cool.
If you're in Burbank too, it's just a fun, cool place to visit.
It's also just a great place to get coffee.
Really cute little store.
Yeah, and I love their message of caffeinated coffee.
Yeah.
So check those out, and thank you for that shout out. And when I go places, I try to take a picture and post and like spread that awareness that way. So it can't hurt.
Yeah, I feel like that's a facet of the show that we should do more.
I'm totally
shout out shops.
More shop love.
Shop shout out.
I'm going to the Bay in later this month in November. So I will be.
Are you telling me that you're going to have a meeting with Michael?
I am. I'm going to the Bay. And the Bay and I are going to be talking about Pain and Gain and how slept on it is. No, I'm going to the Bay area of San Francisco, and I'm going to be looking for comic shops there. So if you have any recommendations in the actual area, I'm not going to have a car, so close to where the hub is. I'm also going to be hosting Fan Expo in San Francisco. So if you are a San Franciscan and want to check out a Comic-Con, I'm going to be doing it with Kevin Smith. I think the cast of Sons of Anarchy is also there, as well as the cast of Smallville, which is very exciting for me because I grew up on Smallville, and I'm very excited.
Every one of them?
Yeah. Even the extras. No, like the main cast of Smallville is going to be there. Very excited for that. So if you're in the area, it is Thanksgiving weekend. And if you have any comic recommendations, comic store recommendations, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Do you want to
Let's get some hotline callers.
See what the hotline has to say?
Let's see what the people want.
Hey there, mon ami. How you doing? It's Ben from Montreal. Hi, Chloe. I've been collecting since the age of 11. And I have to admit, in the last 2 to 3 years, I've lost control. I've lost track of what book goes in what short box. I have the application CLZ to keep track of everything I own. But when somebody says, hey, can you pop out X23 number 5? I don't know where it is. It's a shame, really. Wondering if you have any tips, any tricks. Did you ever do any events just to try and pull everything out and put back everything in the right way? Did you ever, some sort of a party where everybody's just there going through comics and putting things into order? I'm wondering if you have tips, tricks, and whatever goes through your mind. In any case, thank you for allowing me to be on the show. I appreciate it. Love you guys to death. Hopefully, I'll get to see you in Montreal soon. All right. Later, boys.
Benoit talking about comics organization.
And inviting us to visit him in Montreal.
Honestly, I got heart palpitations there for a minute because this sounds so exciting to me, is to organize comics and to do so in a way that makes them easy to find and locate. This is my shit.
We just talked for 20 minutes about TV organizing, which is digital.
I love this sort of thing. I mean, the organization that I have in even just this space with books, with anything that there's a library of, is my shit. With that said, I definitely don't have nearly as many comics as Benoit or you.
Yeah.
I know that my comics are organized in 6 or 7 short boxes that are just by publisher. So I have a Marvel box, or maybe 1 or 2 Marvel boxes. I have a DC box, an Image / Wildstorm / whatever. I have those. That's how my comics are organized. When I'm talking about the floppies, not on the shelves. Actually, on the shelves, they're also organized by publisher.
Okay.
But I don't think I have a problem. Also, I haven't looked at those in years. In fact, we almost did
that for funsies.
We talked about that. Maybe a fun episode one day will just be pulling out my short boxes and just looking at what comics I have.
Because November and December, the news slows down. And we're doing less shows because we have holidays around the corner.
We're going to take the end of the year off we did every year.
We did last year. Actually, last 2. This is year 3 holidays. But so maybe that'd be one of the weeks.
Yeah, we'll just see. What does Jake own? Let's
find out.
Because I don't even know. I stopped collecting floppies so many years ago. I probably have so many Image books. It's probably just tons of image boxes. Yeah.
So I've got, the way I do it is I have Marvel, DC, Image all separate. And then if it's a smaller publisher like IDW, Boom. Something that I don't collect a lot of.
Dynamite.
So Boom has actually just got their first long box from me. Nice. So Boom just became the Image level where it's a full long box. So Boom and Image are the 2 indies that I have the most of. IDW, Dark Horse, those indies are maybe in 1 box. But what I do is it's by alphabet for the title of the book and then numerically in there. So all of my A's.
Kind of like how they are in the
comic store. Yeah. So I have 37 long boxes in the East Coast, and I have 7 here.
Now,
and then I have 4 short boxes.
If someone said X23 number 5,
I know exactly where that is.
How quick would it take? Yeah.
I've done that on the phone with my mother and had her go through the long boxes on the East Coast because I was checking on the condition of an old Silver Age book. So within 5 minutes of her getting to where the comics are, 5 minutes is exactly where it is.
And what is in between them that are using as labels?
Nothing. Just I know what 1/8 of the box they're in.
Oh, so
mentally my brain is.
But so she doesn't have a tab that says A.
No. Okay. On the outside of the box it says on the outside of the underneath. So long box has the lip.
Yeah.
Under the lip I've written A through B or CD. So, and that way there's that label. Yeah. So on the outside you can tell what's going on.
Right.
And then when you open it, I know first 1/8, second 1/8, third 1/8, and then she can kind of look through there and then flip through those 10 comics or whatever.
Right.
So I have it alphabetically, numerically, and it's all memorized. It's all in my head.
Right.
So I know that, for example, Uncanny X-Men, if I'm looking for the Claremont Burn Run, if I'm looking for Days of Future Past.
Hang on. Under U or under X?
That is under U because X-Men has an X title. And that would be confusing. So that's Uncanny. That's an Uncanny X-Men title.
So you organize this under U.
Yes. Amazing Spider-Man is an A because there's a Spider-Man title.
Okay, that's what I was going to make sure.
Very important.
I want to make sure that you're not grouping the hero or the whatever, your
And
actual book title.
X-Men, when they started, did have an era where they just had the X-Men, but it is still the Uncanny X-Men title, so it's under you.
Got it.
So say I was looking for the Days of Future Past, issue 141. So I'd tell my mom it is the third long box from the last long box on the right-hand side. It's too deep. You go to that box, and then it is
somewhere
about 3/8 in from the front of that box, and I've got it labeled front, back, and then it's got a U on it.
That's incredible. Why is that? Oh, you, because it's under you.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So I know exactly where it is.
I love everything about that. The only thing that I would add is little dividers, because I love a little divider.
It just doesn't make the top sit well.
Well, that's because your dividers
Too tall.
are too tall.
And I got rid of them.
If you have dividers that, you should see my games, my tabletop games.
Man's got games.
You would go, one of my favorite things to do is to throw away the original inserts to a poorly laid out tabletop game and redo it. There's a game that's very dense I absolutely love called Spirit Island. It's this really big, fun multiplayer co-op game, right? And I have like little, what would you call, jewelry boxes or tackle boxes, right? For each of the individual things, so that we don't have the little bags or thing. And then from there, card boxes with individual dividers. And of course, and I've P-touched written out on each one. But what's nice about card boxes is the tabs, they're perforated. Is that what it's called?
Perforated.
So that they fold down flat.
Yeah.
So they do stick out on the top of the box, but then they fold flat over the top. So you know everything behind it, or if you want to turn it the other way, everything in front of it is whatever that label is.
Nice.
So that would help with your box closing.
That issue.
But this is great. He did say something in here that gave me so much anxiety. The idea of a party where everybody goes through stuff.
Oh, no.
Nothing to me sounds more fun than sitting by myself organizing something. Nothing sounds like more of a fucking
other people
nightmare
my shit.
than having a bunch of people try to utilize the same system.
Oh, and I didn't talk
that would
about
be infuriating.
The setup system. So long boxes are where they land. In the meantime, while I'm reading comics, short boxes.
That I have those for things called, that's my on deck.
Yeah,
so
the on deck comics are in a short box.
In the old apartment, right? So right now, I'm not sure if you've noticed, the DVD wall and the Blu-ray wall, that's all in a box now.
I know, it's sad.
In the old apartment, all of my physical media was all laid out, perfect alphabetical, all that stuff. And then I did have an on deck shelf.
Yeah.
And once stuff was seen from the on deck shelf, it made its way into the shelf.
So my on deck box is a Maximum Carnage box.
Right.
And so I've got, I can see that at the ready. And then I've got a indie long box and a indie short box, DC short box, Marvel short box. That way, every 3 months, I'm sorting them into long boxes, not every month. So I've got...
Yeah, those are like your immediates.
Exactly. So reading, and then the transition, and then once they get full,
the archive.
Exactly.
The archive.
And then there's the deep storage.
So you said that you had 7 here, and how many? 13?
32 on the East Coast.
Oh, 32 on the East Coast. Way more. And
7 long boxes here.
7 here. What are the 7 long boxes here? And does it... You probably not, but to me, the fact that they're not all in one place would be infuriating.
It's very hard, but I also want to have a home before I have...
Sure, of course. I know you don't have room for it,
but it's very hard.
I would sooner be like...
As a collector, it's so hard to be like, do I have that issue in the condition I think it is? That's why I got to call my mom sometimes.
Right.
But the long boxes here are 2 Spider-Man long boxes, 1 Deadpool long box, 2 X-Men long boxes, 2 Batmans.
I'm just gonna say this right now. If you're looking to save some space, Mama Chandra, I'm currently looking for somebody to go halvesies on our storage unit with. It's air conditioned, it's climate controlled, it's super secure in a basement in Burbank, California.
I'm sure it's free.
We can go. I said we can go halvesies on this storage unit, and you can get all of those comics out, and you can have them here in LA.
Beautiful space.
And we can organize them.
I'm sure it's very inexpensive in an air conditioned.
It will be once it's split. Right now, it's costing me $260 a month.
It's actually not bad for AC. Yeah.
But it is a little too expensive for what we have in there.
Yeah.
But if we went halvesies on it, we were spending $130, $140 each a month for storage.
Not as bad.
I'm just saying, if you want to take your space back and get your
I just need to get a U-Haul to drive them across.
Just
country.
This man child out of your
37 long boxes is going to be so much to move.
You have more. She probably has more in her house for a kid that doesn't live there than most people have for their adult
guaranteed.
children who still live at home.
Almost without fail. That's almost a thing.
Coy, producer Jake. It's Travis from Florida. Quick question for y'all. As a man who's restarting for the umpteenth time his comic book collection in trades because I don't have the space or mental capacity, not mental capacity, but I don't have the mental space to keep remembering to buy floppies. What is a good place to start, because the first 4 books I bought were Batman White Knight, Curse of White Knight, Batman Last Night on Earth, and Batman 89, the first 6 issues, which I should have looked for the 12. But that's that question. Second question, what the heck is the point of a companion book? It's weird and confusing and makes me sad. Because, anyway, I tell the story. Do it now. Because I was going to buy the friggin' Before Watchmen for Night Owl and Dr. Manhattan. Then there was Doomsday Clock. And then what I thought was going to be Watchmen, it ended up being Watchmen Companion. I'm like, the point of the companion book? I was so let down. Anyway, yeah. TLDR, what new books would you recommend for people starting or restarting a collection? And B, in second question, what is the point of a companion book for, like, trades? Stay sweaty, stay sweaty. Keep being awesome.
So,
Peace.
2 questions here. One, trades. So that kind of,
It's subjective. What books do you
yeah,
like?
it's like it kind of ties into one of the best gateway books, right? Like I always say Ultimate Spider-Man is the best gateway book of all time. But if you don't like Spider-Man, that's not gonna be a good trade for you.
Do you want to know how I would answer this?
How would you answer this?
If he's saying he's got, some floppies, or he has like a history, he has a collection of floppies, but he wants to start collecting trades for the sake of ease, is what floppies do you have the most of?
Yeah.
And what would you be totally fine with just putting in a box in a closet and never seeing it again?
Yeah.
For example, like Ultimate X-Men. If you were like, yeah, I have every issue of Ultimate X-Men. I'm sorry, not Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Or Ultimate X-Men, which is my instance where I have all the hardcovers.
Yeah.
Like, if you have the entire run of Ultimate Spider-Man and floppies, and you go, well, I know I love this book. It'll look nice on a shelf, but I'm not going to put floppies. It's so many. There's so much to it. I think that's a good place to start.
Like, I won't open my Silver Age Spider-Man comics.
No.
I will love them in hardcover.
Buy those.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so things that you love that you want to read often or have out. Like, for a great example is Saga. So I buy floppies of Saga because I want to read it every month, and I like holding them. But when they're collected in the hardcover, I rebuy them. I don't buy them as trades. I wait for that because that way I've got them both ways, and it looks nice.
I like the trade better than the hardcover of that specific book, but yeah, I know what you mean.
So like some books are rebuys and they're presentational, but as far as trades, like it depends what you're into. And if you want to, another way to do things is like find a writer you love and then risk it. You know what I mean? So if I love James Tynion IV so much that whatever he writes, I will pick up. And then like if I read a couple issues and then I'm like, ooh, I'll wait for the trade on this, but I got to remember I write it down. So I've got an ongoing list of things that I'm waiting to pick up the trade for. And then there's books that are like, I love this artist. Oh, that'd be cool to fill in there, which brings me to the companion answer. But it seems like you're going to say something.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say also is if your whole thing is like, well, I do have a bunch of floppies, but I just want to start collecting trades, and it's not necessarily about crossover or not necessarily about like, if just wanting a cool collection that's easy to look at, easy to pull a book out of, collect stories that are only 6 issues or so. So like literally get the trade where there is only the one trade.
That way you're getting the miniseries, the maxi series, whatever.
It might be that it's an arc within a larger series, obviously, like a small Spider-Man arc. But if you have like, the Phoenix Saga as a trade,
it's a great way to just read that.
But then also there's other stories that are only 5 issues. Like I've brought up a few times, like for example, the Neil Gaiman Marvel 1607 or whatever. It's like, that's a great thing to have as a trade.
Right.
Because that's it. You don't need... The trade is the whole thing.
And that answers 2 questions there. 1602 is a companion book technically to the House of M story. So the point of...
Wait, it was?
Yeah, because after she said No More Mutants, it launched into all of that like Elseworldy stuff,
I just don't remember that being... Like, I know they came out around the same time, but I just don't remember it being associated. For me, it was just like, here's a fun book that I like.
I always thought it was
I never connected the dots.
So companion books to me are a chance for like indie filmmakers to make a movie in a universe. To me, a lot of times companion books are newer writers and artists that can't get on the main title. So a lot of people complain about companion books because it's another thing to read, another thing to buy. As an eternal optimist, I see it as an opportunity for a writer or artist that might not have gotten on a full 12 issue title or something like that to try out with these characters.
Yeah, a companion book is no different than the shorts of Thor with his roommate.
Exactly.
Were the reason that Taika was able to then
bring Daryl into
make a Thor movie.
Yeah. So to me, companion books are a great jumping on point for the creative side. Like they bring a new force to the conversation.
It's weird. I can't think of a companion book right now. Like, I'm sure I have some, or that some are built into some trades I've got. But to me, they're
built
all
in by then.
Yeah, to me, I feel like companion book.
Like War of the Realms.
I don't consider
had,
it
like
a
War of the Realms,
companion
Spider-Man, War of the Realms, and then there's the War of the Realms 1 through 6.
And is that phrase like universal in the world of comics?
I think so.
Companion book. I don't know. When I think of a companion book, I think of a book that isn't part of the story. I think of a book like, oh, here's the companion book to a movie, and it has like pictures and stuff. Like I think of a companion book as like, here's interviews.
Marvel Encyclopedia.
Yeah, or like you mean that one down there? I mean
but like that in comic form, how sometimes you pick up a book and you're like, this is just data.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think is, where it's like interviews. Here's like original drawings, and I think of that as a companion book, but clearly I'm mistaken.
I mean, I could be wrong.
No, I guess in my brain, it probably is what you guys are talking about.
Because like those are like the one-offs that are tying into.
Yeah, I think
the
of them
story.
as like a one-off or a special event.
Yeah, and then sometimes they call them one-shots. I have heard them called companion book. I think that's what he's talking about here.
Yeah, probably.
And then so I see that is why those exist. And trades-wise is just find a writer or artist you love, find a character you love, or like Jake was saying, like combine your floppies that you want to read and have out. Like a bunch of the amazing listeners of this show got me the Deadly Class hardcovers because I have Deadly Class digitally, and that's how I read it for the whole run. But now I want to have it, and I want to like have people see it. I'm learning more and more the books that are because ever since we started doing the show, I'm just talking about comics so much more because I don't really have any other comic reader friends, and the amount of books that I thought I owned because I read them when I was working at Borders and just don't have physically. And
then I go to the shelf and I go like, oh, I want to look up that page that I remembered or that story or whatever. And then I'm like, oh wait, do I not own this? And I could have sworn I owned it just because I read it ages ago. And now I'm like, well, should I want that? I want to have a copy of that. What I've noticed is we talked about like superhero burnout and that fear. And like I went through my very grumpy September. Right. I've noticed that I don't really buy superhero books hardcover anymore. Because I want to like escape that because I have to read so many. Sure. So like Saga, Deadly Class, those things are very like not. Right. So it's interesting to see what I've bought in the last 2 years versus. Yeah, I don't think I've ever had like I think I've always leaned in less cape stories. I think that's just like how I read more books that are not that genre. But I bet you if you looked at my shelf, just because it's your whole life, or no, like something like Ultimate X-Men, like, well, no, I want that run on hardcover, and it's 100 issues. So I have 1 through 9 currently, and I need whatever is. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So like, when you look at that shelf, that 1 through 9 is equal to 5 indie books. Yeah, or way more than that, probably. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, probably all of my issues, like that right there is, 1 through the trades of 1 through 10 of Y the Last Man probably fit within the same space on the shelf of 2 of those hardcovers. Yeah. Right? So it looks way more skewed, probably, that there's probably more cape stuff, and I'm considering X-Men cape. You know what I mean? Sure. Fights and tights. Yeah. So it's just fun to look at as you age how your taste is. Man, I wish I could afford to buy more trades. The Iliad and stuff. Used bookstores are good. Well, yeah, the Iliad. I go. That's pretty much one where I used to. I've talked about it on the show a lot. I used to just be like, oh, Comic Cons was my shopping. I would do it on Sunday at Comic Con. That would be my shopping for the year. But now I'm just struggling with time, so I'm having a hard time justifying buying new books when I have a stack to read. Yeah, like I still haven't made it through Animal Man yet, which was that's why I barely. So good, but that's why I barely have like time to watch these movies and stuff. I Patron Pod is because I'm reading so much. I just recently moved up Sixth Gun, which is a book that Gilbert Short, current Unpunchable gift horse, sent me because I love Western story, and he said it's like Western spooky. Yeah, and I was looking at my to read list a couple days ago. And I was seeing like what was next, and I went like, oh, I want to move that up. But like, it's second right now. It's like, but whether I'm going to get through, when second will be. Who knows when I'm going to get through the thing I'm currently reading? I've had season 3 of Afterlife on my fucking to watch. Yeah, and like it's killing me. There's a lot of stuff. Well, we got another hotline call. We do.
Hey, Coy. Hey, producer Jake. This is Gilbert up in the Bay Area. I want to talk about Henry Cavill with Superman. Of
course you do.
I was really happy to see that he's coming back to the role. Henry has always been a favorite Superman of mine. He understands the character, even if you have issues with the writing of the character. He seems to have found a way to connect with the character on his own. So I'm very happy he's able to come back. And if Snyder doesn't come back, that's fine. I'm more interested in Superman than I am in Snyder. So I'm excited to see this. But I was wondering, do you have any villains you'd like to see come back? And if so, what would you want their Do you have an idea for the story? Because, I mean, if there's one weakness the movies have had is that they all kind of rely on Luther and Zod, and I want something new. I want, I'd love Brainiac. I'd love a Lobo story. Can you imagine if Lobo comes into town and there's someone put out a bounty on Superman, and he's got to take on someone who's just as powerful as he is, but is also, just a big, ugly, mean biker guy. I think that could be fun. But regardless, I do think that we're feasting over here. I'm so happy. But anyway, you guys have a good week. Thanks. Bye.
Completely agree. It is a bounty of riches. I'm the most
unless
excited.
you're a Witcher fan.
I mean, unless you're a Witcher fan. But I haven't been this excited for DC since Nolan's Batman. I haven't been excited for the future in a long time.
I'm a little confused, though. I don't know if he just misspoke. He said, what villains would you like to bring back?
And
but
then
he named Lobo.
Very confusing,
Yeah.
unless I missed a Lobo movie. Because
if
he
he
was on that show, that Smallville Krypton
Yeah.
show.
If he meant bring back, then I really like the idea of Lex Luthor being a Zuckerberg type, the way that they did in Batman vs Superman. As bad as it movie was, that concept for a character is really, really good.
Who owns Twitter?
Again, if we make Lex Luthor, there's four of them now.
Yep.
Lex Luthor, Lex Luger, and Lex Luker.
Yep, it's Luke.
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker, as played by Luke Evans.
New Witcher, Luke Evans. But I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah. So if I was going to bring a character back from the existing ones, that would be the idea.
Sure.
Whether or not it's good or not. But if I'm bringing a new character, it's tough because Superman is OP.
Yeah.
And the best version of his story is guy who's not powerful, gets kryptonite, makes him weak, is an even fight. He has to fight out of it.
See, I think you could really do a great Brainiac story because the overthinking him could be a thing. And I want to see a story where Superman has to accept he can't save everyone. And his humanity is that he can hear everything, but he can't. I want to see those things. And I feel like if you've got a smart character, he can manipulate that.
Yeah, I get it.
I'd go Brainiac.
Ultimately, he's still just real squeezy punchy.
He's real squeezy punchy.
I mean, Solomon Grundy.
I feel like he's too spooky.
I
want to see
Mixel.
Oh, that'd be fun. Or Bizarro.
Bizarro is but the Bizarro is the problem we all have. It's just a different Superman,
right?
And that's the thing is Ultraman, or Miracle Man, or
Sentry,
Black Adam. These are all just I want Superman to fight Superman.
Yeah.
But it's
not to mention Invincible and the Boys and all the things that are in pop culture already right now.
Right, which are kind of doing versions of that.
Because if you bring in a Bizarro, you're going to think the current evil Superman thing, which is very prominent.
Yeah, I just don't. It's tough. Superman is a tough person to have a good villain of. That's why Lex is the best.
Yeah,
because it's what you said. Because he is just a guy. He's just a human who's going to try to out-human him by being so awful in a way that Superman's purity can't even fathom.
And that's what I want to see.
It's an emotional defeat.
Right. And I want to see him not be able to handle that. Right. And I think, I do think Brainiac is what they'll go with because there's been so many almosts. He seems next.
Tough now, though, that we got what's his face from Suicide Squad. We did this a couple weeks ago. Thinker. Which is
Peter Capaldi.
Another Brainiac.
Yeah, he's very, very Brainiac-ish.
I'm trying to think of other
I'd love to
villains.
see Lobo. I've talked about Lobo. It's funny, though, because they have Jason Momoa as Aquaman, which is so Lobo-ish.
Yeah.
He would have been the perfect Lobo.
I'm trying to think of who else really, that's it's going to have to be a deep cut. I don't think it's going to have to. I mean,
that's okay. Superman's going to sell, especially after 8 years. We all want him back so bad.
I'm struggling to think of other Superman villains right now.
I don't know Superman nearly as well as Gilbert.
You want to look up some and we'll just read some names?
Say yes or no.
Let's see. Let me write Superman villains. This is what a shop does. Yeah, Bizarro, Brainiac, they're all the same. Doomsday, Darkseid, Mr. Mistleplex, Metallo? Who the hell is Metallo? I don't know who Metallo is.
I think I can picture him, but I can't think of his powers. I think he's like
Is he metal?
Yes.
General Zod. Toyman. That would be interesting. And then it's all just freaking Superboy Prime. It's all of these Superman alikes. Ultraman, Atomic Skull. Yeah, there's not a great list. He does not. The Rogues Gallery. This is not. Anti-Monitor. Yeah, it's a rough one.
It's not great.
It's not great. Well, you know what the problem is that they've all been wasted. Because the reality is, yeah, Doomsday.
Yeah.
Like the stories that we've seen already.
Right. And Doomsday got thrown into a Justice League movie that was a Batman vs Superman movie.
Yeah, Parasite, Bizarro. Even when you look at like, oh, what are people's favorites? It's all the top 5 are all the exact same always.
Yeah.
It's always like Doomsday, Brainiac, Lex, Bizarro, Darkseid, Zod. Done. Well, sorry, I hope we didn't end on a downer for you. We're both excited to have
Brainiac.
Superman, but
Yeah, we're both excited.
But, maybe create some new characters.
Not for the first movie back. That ain't happening.
It worked for Superman 4 or 3, whichever one was about Nuclear Man. That's who I want to come back.
There it is. The Quest for Peace. Everyone's favorite Superman movie. But I know it's everyone's favorite.
I want the long nails.
Yep.
I want the atomic symbol on his chest.
Isn't that the one with the late great Richard Pryor? Or is that Superman 3?
I think that's I think that's 3.
Okay. Bring him back like Tupac's hologram.
They're all merging together in my brain.
I know the first 2 are great. I've heard.
Hey, Coy. Hey, Jake. This is Ben from Altadena. Just calling in to check the speaker on my phone. Coy's voice came in loud and clear on the outgoing message. But also, I've got a little behind on my media this month, so I was just catching up and really enjoyed the episode with the John Joes and the Merrickses on the Coycast from the Dragon's Den. That was really fun. So it was, getting to hear the people who shaped Coy. So my question is about the places that shaped each of you, since you've lived on both sides of the country, different places. My question for you is to pick a movie that you think does a good job of representing the experience of each of the major places that you've lived during your life. So thanks, guys. Have a great week.
Love this question because some of the best movies in the world are about my world of Boston.
Boston's not a real place.
It is
made up for the movies.
It's the best place.
This is really tough because I don't think that the experience that I grew up on Long Island, and while there are movies that take place on Long Island that I can think of, they feel authentic, but not necessarily to where I grew up, like to parts of Long Island. The first one that comes to mind, one of the first one that comes to mind is Paperman, the one with Ryan Reynolds as the fictional Superman, speaking of Superman, and Greg Daniels.
Yep.
That is about like the shore of Long Island in a really like Montauk-y sort of, and those towns, that feels like those towns.
Right.
And while I'm from an area around there, it's not where I'm from. You know what I mean? Like that's not what my feeling necessarily was like.
I'm very lucky that they use Boston a lot, and each of the flavors of what I consider home are represented.
Whenever they said a movie on Long Island, the Long Island of it makes it seem like it's the problem. Like,
is it not?
The movie I can think of is Young Adult. Charlize Theron, like those families and them going to that was all on Long Island. That literally the mall in that movie is like my mall.
That's amazing.
Like
that's why you love that movie so much. It
feels authentic, but not in a way that makes me happy.
Well, the Fighter is my town. Like they run by my house in that movie. My home is in the Fighter.
That's fun.
And what's scary is they captured
it. Really?
Yeah.
Can you do a screen grab of it and post it on the Discord?
Yeah, my old house I can. Yeah,
I'm holding you to this because you don't go in the Discord enough.
I was in there like 3 days ago.
Yeah, and you did not pay attention because I wrote directly before you posted that Henry Cavill had been replaced in Witcher and you did not see it or notice it.
Well, here we are getting called out with receipts. So the Fighter is very accurate, but it's also like, the people of the Lowell area are sometimes terrifying. Like Dickie is someone that I know, and like Mickey is someone who I used to box with. So that is super accurate, but it's also the town is when I'd go into Boston, like where I would go visit is exactly where I'm from as well. And then the people I know are the most Goodwill Hunting. Like I definitely knew people that were like Ben Affleck.
But there has to be like that turned up to 11 though.
It's a little exaggerated, but not as much as I would wish upon people. Like I wish I could be kinder, but like Casey Affleck definitely was someone I know.
Kinder.
Like I definitely know Casey's character, and I definitely know like Jeremy Renner's character in the town. Like I definitely have friends that like if I needed someone's legs broken, it would be a matter of whose car we're going to take. Like that. But because those people can't get out. Like this is it seems cool when you're watching it in the movie, But when those people can't get out, and that's the only option the world's given them,
Right.
it makes it way more real. So it's really interesting to watch movies now while I've lived in LA for 13 years and go like, man, I idealize these people. And then as an adult go like, oh, these people didn't have another choice.
Right.
Like it's either prison or organized crime or death or all the above. So like The Town and Good Will Hunting and The Departed and The Fighter are all kind of the same peoples, just depending on the region, but they are all very fucking accurate. And all 4
Right.
are in my top 100 movies of all time.
Right.
Because it feels like home. But like you said, each little department, right?
Right,
Like
yeah.
I don't know a lot of fucking cops on purpose.
Sure,
so
of
The
course.
Departed feels the most alien.
Right.
But I know people that have had to deal with that shit.
Right.
So yeah, The Fighter is literally my town.
I-
The Town is where I went to visit, and Good Will Hunting is my people.
There is a movie that takes place on Long Island, another one I can think of that does capture, at least in my opinion, the malaise. So for what Garden State was, like obviously I'm not from New Jersey, but Garden State is very similar to what's like growing up in Long Island. The area that like upper middle class suburbia isn't that different from Long Island. What is equivalent to that, even though it's a little bit more fantasy, what really does kind of capture the opinion of being a Malaysia white guy out from Long Island, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Interesting.
Because that does kind of feel, when I watch that movie, I think like, yeah, these are all people that this is Long Island.
Yeah.
This feels like it's authentic.
And that's what's interesting about watching Good Will Hunting is like the
Right.
background and stuff. I'm like, oh, I've been to that bar. Like I know
Right.
that the fucking movie Stronger really messed me up because I knew the kid that lost his legs and the marathon
Is it
bombing.
build on? Oh, okay. I didn't
So
know.
Jeff
Yeah,
Bowman
yeah.
was someone I went to middle school with,
Got
and he
it.
lost his legs in marathon bombing, and he was the face of it. He was in all those pictures
I
and
didn't
stuff.
know that.
So when the last thing I ever attempted to do as an actor was I auditioned to play the best friend of Jeff Bowman, who was someone I didn't know personally, but was a friend of a friend.
Right.
So I called Sully. Like I got his
Right.
number from my buddy that played football with him, and I got
This is
his
the
number.
character's name?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and I called the real guy.
Right.
And literally had him coach me through every scene of like, what was this actually like? And I made it much further than I thought I had because that was how the Jake Gyllenhaal interview happened, was because
Right.
Jake liked my tape and
Right.
remembered all those years later. But what was scary was watching that movie. They used the real tiny places that I used to like sneak into and drink illegally.
Sure,
and
yeah,
it was
yeah.
the people in the background were locals because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
And I actually saw the people that are now 10 years older in the background in the same spot.
Right,
So
right,
in
right.
my brain, I might as well have played the role because I was like, that's fucking John.
Right.
Like I saw a motherfucker in the background. So that movie's too authentic
Yeah.
for me sometimes because it's like a traumatic experience.
I do think that you have the benefit of being from a proper bigger city.
Sure.
Whereas, like, yeah, I can talk all about movies that are from New York City.
Right.
But while I grew up near it and I did go to it, I didn't grow up in New York City.
Yeah.
And so I look at it and it's still to me like, oh, it's the city.
Right.
It's a different place from where I grew up, even though it is familiar to me and it feels like home, but not in that way.
And that's why the town is
and
like
also
where
there's
I'd
a billion movies about
in
New York City that all feel like they're authentic.
Ghostbusters, documentary for Jake.
I did also live in Tampa, Florida.
Oh, that's so Florida Project, which I know you hated as much as I
That
did.
was Orlando. That took place in Orlando, technically.
Which is a different Florida.
What'd you say?
With a different Florida, like a different tone.
Yeah, not much, but a little bit. The closest thing I could say to living in Tampa, Florida, is that movie Spring Breakers, which takes place in Tampa. In that, both living in Tampa and watching that movie was fucking excruciating.
So yeah, I think they capture things well, and Jake escaped Florida and Long Island. I miss Boston, but I'm aware that getting out was probably a good thing for me. And it's really interesting to have that nostalgia be immortalized on film.
All right, outside of jokes aside, again, New Jersey is not Long Island, but I do know what the absolute purest answer of what really captured what my childhood was like on Long Island. Clerks, hands down. Even though it's Jersey and not Long Island, they're the same fucking thing. Red Bank, New Jersey is no different than Babylon, Long Island. They're the same fucking town.
I could totally see that.
They're close enough to the water to have the same sort of like boaty, fishing, industry, roots. But like same exact type of middle class, whether it be from the lowest point of middle class to the upper point of middle class to like the very either Jewish or Italian or, Irish Catholic. Like it's the same group of people as far as like where they came from outside of the States. Like Clerks is probably the closest thing to what it was like growing up.
Yeah, it's if we're picking just one, The Fighter. But it is really interesting to I don't know, like it's not the same. Like for example, Southie, my precious Southie, I went and revisited 3 years ago, and the thing that Southie is known for is triple deckers, and triple deckers are when the back of the house has a porch and it's 3 families stacked on top of each
Right,
other.
right.
So there's literally 3 porches. And like to break into somebody's house, you just climb up the porch.
Sure.
Like it's very like that's how these dangerous. They got rid of like 98% of them to the point where they're all skyscrapers.
I was gonna say because it takes
They
up too much
literally
space.
gentrified it up. But what's crazy is like they have one that looks almost like it's used as a prop. Like they're like, this is how you recognize it's Southie.
Right.
And it
Well,
looks manufactured.
I bet you like the city
Preserved one.
or the people fought for like, oh, this is a historical site, so let's not change this one thing.
And they kept the gas station that's been there since the 20s, and it's called Southie Gas, but they remodeled everything around it, so it looks like they called it Southie Gas ironically.
Right.
So it's funny and sad to watch these movies and be like, this is authentic, and then to physically go and be like, where did they set this?
Right.
Like, what is this?
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that they made these movies when they did, because I don't have any proof. Like, I don't have moving pictures.
Sure, yeah. While I was not alive in the 70s, the movie Diggers that I love very much.
Yeah.
With Ken Marino and Paul Rudd. That is very authentic Long Island. That tone.
Yeah.
And that like type of dude, that type of dude lasted up through the 90s.
Yeah.
But that's a fun question.
I love this question. Made me nostalgic. Need me a Boston trip.
Yeah. Thanks to everybody who called. Once again, if you'd like to be a part of the program, 818-794-0722. Look, I gave you a break.
Look at that. Appreciate it.
I'm going to do it this week.
Okay.
818-794-0722, or you can send a voice memo to contact@koicast.com if you would like to just record something on your phone and send it in that way. And listen, if you're lucky enough, you'll get to make it to the show. Now, we usually play nearly all of them. Sometimes we just have to cut some for time.
Yeah, it's usually a time thing. As you notice, we're hitting an hour right now. So that is going to do it for this week. Thank you so much. Please do rate and review at Apple Podcasts. Those 5 stars keep us warm at night and help us know that we're doing the right thing. Check out koicast.com for merch. We got shirts, we got mugs, we got masks. Do consider joining the Patreon, where the great Gilbert Short has continued his reign as the unpunchable into this week and has it this whole month. He's going to let us know what he wants us to watch. If you check out the Patreon, there are nearly 150 patron only pods where we talk about all the art we consume that week, movies, shows, sometimes plays, sometimes music, who knows, but that's over on the Patreon, and that keeps us fed, so we really appreciate it. Check us out on social media. Use hashtag Koicast to get our attention. I'm at Koijandro, COYJANDREAU. He's at Jake Lloyd Bacon, JAKELLOYDBACON. Don't know why I spelled it this week, felt right. And that's going to do it this week. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, and thank you, as always, to Comic Books for existing. We'll see you next week.
You guys, they're just so handsome. Mark Allen Heiliger and Chad Phillip Peter, hosts of The Hell With This.
You know, if you keep up with those kind of compliments, it's going to start to sound facetious.
Tell me a little bit about The Hell With This.
It's about that movie that you love that your best friend has never seen, despite you telling him to watch it about 1 million times. Chad and I have a lot of those between us.
Yeah, so we're basically saying, you know what, the hell with this. It's time to finally sit on the couch and watch those movies.
Sometimes this movie I love that Chad hasn't seen, sometimes it's the other way around.
And sometimes even a guest will bring a movie along.
So you guys are diving into movies. It's a fantastic way for people to explore and discover movies that they might not even know about. How do people check it out?
You can listen to us at thehellwiththis.com or wherever podcasts are found.
It's Dragon Wagon.